Hello and welcome to our webinar on TrustYou Analytics and Radar. My name is Michael. I'm with TrustYou since 2012 and I'm happy to guide you through our analytics product today. TrustYou is the largest guest feedback platform in the world. Today we collect and analyze over 3 million travel reviews, surveys and social posts from all across the web every week for all of the hotels in our database. We have products for every step of the way, every step of the guest journey. The TrustYou platform helps hotels leverage guest feedback to impact the entire guest journey as you see it right here. So the first phase of this guest journey is search and booking, then there's the on-site experience, and then there's the post-stay feedback. Here are the products of the guest feedback platform that go with every step of this journey. So for the search and booking process, we have our meta review product. For the on-site experience, we have our messaging tool. And of course, post-stay feedback can be conducted and leveraged via TrustYou stars. And finally, the product that ties them all together is Analytics and Radar that we're going to talk about now. Analytics, our reputation management product, helps leverage guest insights to drive future bookings. In a nutshell. So the main challenge for hoteliers today is that guest feedback is often fragmented rather than consolidated. Therefore, it's difficult for hoteliers to easily pinpoint and resolve issues, and therefore this causes them to happen repeatedly. The solution, of course, is TrustYou Analytics, which is a platform that analyzes all guest feedback across the web, including guest satisfaction surveys, to create the most valuable insights for hoteliers. This is how TrustYou Analytics and Radar work. You can manage all feedback in one place, analyze your score, you can easily do KPI reporting, have an easy response management in there. Also with our app, TrustYou Radar, you can connect on the go. And additionally, you also can monitor on social sites such as Facebook, etc. It all starts on our login page, login.trustyou.com. So you just enter your credentials there, and I'll give you a live demo right now. So now we're logged in. The first section I want to show you is our dashboard. Here in the dashboard, you will always see your hotel name, and here on the right-hand side, you see a time frame selection. Here you can choose which time frame the data below should refer to. So first of all, what you do is select a time frame up here. At the moment, I selected the last 60 days. Also, you can customize the way this dashboard looks. For example, you can drag tiles somewhere else, and you also have the option to add additional tiles, as you see here, also source-specific tiles, which I will explain later on. Let's start off with looking at the overall score. The overall score always refers to data from the last 24 months. So this is the overall score for your property, which may be slow moving, but gives you a general impression on your online reputation. This here is on a scale up to 100. Within the details that open up whenever you click on a tile here, we will find a table with a list of different review sites. For each of those review sites, we have the overall score there on a scale up to 100, so you can easily compare. We have a trend that compares the score on the first day of the selected time frame to the last day. We have the number of new reviews and the number of new responses. Additionally, we also have the pie chart that illustrates the sources that generate the most content. In this case, the biggest chunk here comes from Booking.com with about 2/3 of all reviews. You can collapse the additional information by just clicking on the respective tile again. moving over to performance, the performance score is not quite the same thing as the overall score, as the overall score is a rated score done via an algorithm, meaning that more recent reviews count higher than older reviews, whereas the performance score is a simple average. Also, the performance score only refers to reviews from within the selected time frame of the last 60 days. But the first thing we see in the details of the performance score is our impact score. TrustYou works with semantic analysis, understanding text. So we compare how different areas impact the overall score given by the guests. This is what we call the impact score for those categories. Depending on the market, certain aspects have no impact. So this is all taken into account. For example, things like small room are not that relevant in Paris, New York City, or Tokyo. Here in our example, the most negative impact comes from the statements about the beds, the bathrooms, and the Wi-Fi, meaning that if the hotel would improve those areas, the overall performance score could be higher. Below the impact score, what we see here in the performance tile details is how the score has developed in the course of the selected time frame. And the graph also shows the spikes and lows during those certain days and weeks. And you also always see how many reviews have come in within that given time frame and how many of those have been positive in green or negative in red. A negative review here would be any review with a score of 60 out of 100 or even lower than that. Once again, I collapse the additional information by clicking on the performance tile again. Reviews, we have 579 reviews overall in the last 60 days. If I open up here, we see 3 lists of reviews, 3 columns. First of all reviews from the selected time frame, starting off with the most recent one. So what I see is the score of this review. I see the review site where it was published, the author of the review, the header, and the review text. If I click on read all, I can also read additional text if the review is longer. We have a couple of options for every review that can be responded, has a respond functionality. There's also a respond with template. I will show you the templates later on in the settings. You can translate any review. So if this German review can be translated into English directly by clicking on the translate functionality here. There's also a forwarding option, so you can forward any review to any given email address. For positive reviews that you might want to advertise with, you can share them on Facebook or share them on Twitter directly. Also, there's an option to add a task to a review. This kind of replaces pen and paper next to your computer, because you can always add a task to do follow-ups on the content of a specific review. All of those options that we've just seen can also be found if you click on the gear icon here in the overview list. The second of those 3 tabs gives you all of the negative reviews, as I said, a score of 60 or lower. And in our third tab, we find the reviews to respond, meaning those are reviews that can be responded that have not been responded by the hotel management so far. Below those 3 tabs, we also find category details. So this is also our semantic analysis of the content of the actual statements of the guests. And what we see here is a list of complaints and another list of praises about certain categories, aspects of the hotel. So not only do you get to know that there have been 27 complaints about the price within the last 60 days that you selected, but if you click the respective line, you would also directly see the list of reviews in which we've found those complaints, and those complaints are also highlighted directly in red in this case. Next up is our responses tile. Responses refer to those review sites where responses are possible, as not all sources allow responses. We obviously only consider the sources that support responses if we calculate a response rate as we see it in the 77% here. So if you look at this very last column, total 283 out of 366 respondable reviews have been responded, which leads us to 77% response rate overall. But we also give you a breakdown of stars. Those stars refer to review scores. So 1-star reviews are reviews with a score of 0 to 20. 3 stars would be 41 to 60 then, and 5 stars are 81 to 100. Here you'd also see how many reviews have been posted in each week in this case, and how many of them have been responded. We usually recommend to focus on replying to lower star reviews. So this is what this hotel has done perfectly right here. And also respond to some positive feedback if you can't manage to respond everything. If you want to know more about what to respond and how to respond, I can recommend our best practice book, Hotelier's Guide to Responding to Reviews. You can download that directly from our website. Next up, we have the popularity. The popularity score is based on a city ranking that some sources provide. I guess you know it mostly from TripAdvisor, which also is the most relevant data point here. So those rankings are all calculated into a percentage, and out of those percentages, we combine an overall popularity that is assigned here. The trend, again, refers to the comparison between the first and last day of the selected time frame. Our sentiment tile shows a list of overall and subcategories, as you've already seen in the impact score, and also when we looked at complaints and praises. Here, you not only see the categories, if you click the little triangle here, the subcategories, you also see a performance score allocated to each category here. So what we do with the performance, we compare the positive and negative and neutral mentions of reviews in the selected time frame. And the score is the percentage of positive mentions, as we see them here, compared to all mentions. So 29 out of 30 are 97%. What you can do here is not only have a theoretical look again, but once again, you have the option to click on each of those in order to see the direct matches in a pop-up window. The trend column here, once again, is the performance selected time frame. So it's a performance of the selected time frame versus the performance of the previous time frame. So in this case, it's the last 60 days compared to the 60 days before that. The next tiles you see here, housekeeping, F&B, and front office, are department tiles. Those include a filtered version of the sentiment tile and therefore only include categories specific to this specific department. So this is the information you get here, and out of all of these matches, we also calculated an overall score for the specific department, so you always know where you stand within your department, for example. The comparison gives a very good overview on how you're doing compared to your competitor hotels on the main KPIs. Obviously, there will be more details in the comparison tab, the comparison section, that we'll be looking at later on here. But a very good overview already here in the dashboard for the main KPIs. So this comp index line that we see here is the value of your hotel compared to the average of all competitor values. So if this is bigger than 1, as we see it here, for example, you're doing better than your average competitor. If it's lower than 1, your competitors are doing a bit better. Next up is the highlights tile. The highlights tile is a very concise breakdown of the different KPIs. So we see here the top sources, as you see them in the overview overall score tile. We see a breakdown of the performance. We see a very short information on the competitors, and we also see the best rated and the worst rated categories for your hotel within a given time frame. We always recommend to use this tile as a weekly report to share with the team because it gives an excellent and very short and concise overview. Next up is our TripAdvisor tile. This is a source-specific tile, and it shows the KPIs, and those are this time around only based on a specific source. So what you get when you click on the source-specific tile is basically a mini dashboard. This time, all of those data points only refer to reviews from TripAdvisor. You can always also add source-specific tiles for other sources. Just click Add Tiles up here and select a specific source you're interested in up here or from the drop-down menu. Next up are tasks and goals. I mentioned tasks before. You can always add a task to any given review. It will then show up in here. And goals work pretty similarly. You can also set up goals and assign one of your colleagues. So if you create a new goal, those goals always refer to the KPIs directly here in the tool. You can, for example, give a target value for your overall score. That should be 92 by, let's say, the end of this year, which would be a lot to improve. You can select a performance score goal and any of these goals. Good thing is you can also select an assignee, so anyone within your user group, anyone with TrustYou access at your hotel can be selected as an assignee here. This assignee will automatically be informed that there's a new goal once you save the changes via email. And once the goal has been reached, you will also be informed via email. The same notification process is in place also for the tasks. So the last tile we see here in the dashboard is the social tile. Once again, the social tile is only a preview to what we see in more detail in the social section. The social tile gives you an overview of the main KPIs from the social networks. More details, including keyword search, will be found here in a specific tab. Let's move on from the dashboard to the inbox of your account now. The inbox is a bit like an email inbox insofar that collects all of the reviews, and you have a lot of filter options to display only the reviews that you're interested in that very second. So you can filter by status. For example, only see unresponded reviews. You can filter for your own hotel or also see competitor reviews, for example. Once again, the time frame selection, filter for scores, languages, task and action alert status, sentiments. For example, if you want to look at only reviews with a negative statement on bathroom, for example. And you can also filter for reviews from specific sources, for example. All of the reviews that apply to your selection will be showing up in a list here in the middle of your screen. You will be able to download reviews if you want to. If you just select a few, you can directly download them as PDF or Excel. And if you select a review and click on it, you will see all of the details in the detail section here on the right hand side. So we see once again the semantic analysis that we find here. We see all of the details and we have all of the options that we've also seen in the dashboard. Additionally, you have the option to also download this specific one review directly as PDF or Excel. And also, in addition to what we've just seen for this one review, you also have the option for the entire list here to export reviews. So you can add all reviews matching the current filters to a scheduled Excel report, and those filters can still be changed inside the reports panel. Additionally to that, you'll also be able to enter keywords here. So if you want to filter those reviews also for specific words, sometimes this is done when there's construction work going on at a hotel, or even worse, next to the hotel. So you can filter for stuff like noise, construction work, and all of this in order to see whether or not this is affecting your hotel's reviews. So the inbox gives you a great option to have an overview on unresponded and responded reviews, and on seeing exactly the reviews that you want to see if you are looking for them, and also a great option to download reviews as PDF or Excel if you want to print them, and also everything that you've seen in the dashboard you can do here directly, so forward reviews, translate them, and respond to them. That's basically it for the inbox section. So next up, we move over to social. Here in social, we first have an overview table up here. This overview table shows you the data for the selected time frame. Once again, you can select the time frame here, and it gives you an overview on the KPIs that you've selected here. You also have the option to unselect, for example, Twitter here if you're not into Twitter, or if you are not using Twitter, or you can also select Weibo. This is most likely when you're a Chinese hotel. So once I close this here, I will show you what happens if you click on the gear icon here. You will see an overview on of your social accounts. This is where you can change the hotel settings and keywords. So if you have a new Instagram account, you can add the credentials directly here in order to track also your Instagram data directly in your analytics account. Additionally, you have the option to add search queries here. So, for example, I could add budget hotel Munich in order to see what I find on the different sites here. And then below we have tiles that work quite the same way as we've seen in the dashboard. So we get additional details if we click on a respective tile. So no mentions in the selected time frame. There's one tweet, and for the search phrase that I just added, we see 2 results from Twitter. Facebook, you have the overview of all the posts, and also there's the option to directly like or comment, or you can also add tasks to each post. We have additional options here for different social sites, so you can add tiles for those here directly. 2 more examples: the Yahoo picture database, Flickr, so we have results for what we searched for here, and also for YouTube, there are only results for the search term directly here. As I said, you can add all of the tiles that you're interested in, especially those, of course, where you have your own account and where you want to track your own status. Obviously, this is most relevant to search for your own data and to see what potential guests, what the common public is seeing when they're looking for your hotel name or your accounts on those social sites. Let's move on to the comparison. The comparison gives you the option of to benchmark with your hotels in your environment that you want to compare yourselves with, that you've selected yourself. This benchmark overview table here gives you all of the details. And just like in social, once again, you have the option to select the time frame. This time frame will then also affect the tiles below. And here in values and sources, you have the option to see or select rather which data points, which KPIs exactly you want to see up here in the overview table. Further below, we see different tiles that work once again the same way as in the dashboard. In the overall score tile, for example, you will see the overall score, view hotel, and the benchmark hotels. Performance works quite the same way. So we see the performance score of the selected time frame, additional information here, also reviews and response rate already in this one. What we didn't see in the dashboard comparison section, what we have here, however, is a comparison in the social section. So we can see who has how many tweets, Facebook likes, Foursquare check-ins, etc. And also a very interesting feature, the sentiment comparison. So we can actually check how the competitors are doing for food, service, room, etc. and any of those categories you wish compared to your own scores that you've also seen in the dashboard in the sentiment tile. You can easily click on values and sources in any of those tiles in order to adjust the tables. So here, for example, I could, instead of service friendliness, also select air conditioning as a category, for example, and I could also add a new value if you want to have more details, just another category, the bar service, for example, can easily update a tile in order to see a longer table in this case, and this is how those things can be adjusted very easily. In the responses overview that we see, once again, the distribution is by stars, so as we seen it also in the overview table. In addition to what we've seen so far, there's also the option to add and create your own custom tile. In this custom tile, you can select exactly the information that you want to see. So for example, let's have score and response rate and bar and beverages score in this custom tile. You can rename the tile if you want to add more than one. That's no problem at all either. And as you see, you also have the option to filter this by source. So we can see how does my TripAdvisor score, for example, compare to my overall score for those categories. So this is what I can see directly here in my custom tile. We see exactly the values that we selected. Once we see them overall, so for all sources, and once we see them for the selected source TripAdvisor. So it's very easy to set up your own custom tiles in order to only see what you want to see. And this is especially relevant for reports, because our reporting works as a what you see is what you get. So every table that you set up here can be exported into a report at any time. In addition to those custom tiles, there's also the option to set up a graph tile directly in the Add Tiles functionality. Those graph tiles give you the option to see your KPIs as a graph. So you can select a bar, bubble, pie, or line chart. Then again, select a value and select the source. Let's look at the example that we already have here. So for a comp index, for example, we see a bar chart here, and we see who is doing best of our competitors. And in this case, it's the Bellagio with the best performance, and you always see where you're standing. I've been mentioning reports just now, so let's have a look at our reporting section next. As I mentioned, our reports are what you see and what you get reports, and you have the option to export all of the tiles and all of the overview tables from whatever section you want. So let's, for example, start off with a dashboard. If you want to have your performance data in the report, you just click the Add to Report icon that shows up once you hover over a tile in the upper left-hand corner. So let's add this here. You can move on to social and export your Facebook tile over here. Let's move on to comparison and export the performance section. And you can also directly export your custom tile. What you see here is there's a side panel opening up for the reports, and all of the data that we just selected shows up in here. Once we have the list of report modules showing up in here, you have the option to drag and drop them in order to change the order of where they show up in your final report. Then, once you've come up with a report, you can give it a name right here, select whether this should be an Excel or PDF report, and automatically, once you create a report, it will be emailed to your account's email address. There's always the option to add additional email addresses here. So this is not an option, not an issue at all. You can add as many email addresses you like, whether or not their use of TrustYou doesn't matter at all. Also, you have the option to remove the email address if this report should not be sent via email. But most likely, you want this report to be sent via email, and you want this report sent to your email address regularly without even bothering to recreating it here in your account. If you want to receive the report regularly, just check the box here and select the frequency. So maybe this report should be sent on a weekly basis. Let's say every Friday, because this is the day when you find the time to look at those things, especially in the morning. So we have this sent to you in the morning. And to have the time of day selection here work fine, please also select the correct time zone for where in the world you are. If you add a schedule, you will then notice it show up in here. So weekly on a Friday in the morning, this will automatically be sent to all email addresses specified here if there were any. Next up, we see the saved reports. Here in the saved reports, you see the overview on all the reports that you saved. Here we see an overview on all the reports that are scheduled. And any report that is created, so let's just create this report generated right now. This report will be generated within the next 30 days, 30 seconds, most likely, and it shows up here in a generated report section. So we see older examples here because all reports that have been created within the last 30 days are still showing up in generated reports, and you can download them directly here. So now that I clicked on refresh, I also see the report that I just generated. I must have clicked twice by accident. That doesn't matter at all. You can download it directly here, and let's have a quick look at what the Excel file looks like. So you have the option to directly see what this report looks like once my OpenOffice has started. So we see my report example, starting with the impact score, because this comes from the performance tile that we downloaded, that we added to the report. Then there's a custom tile, and we see all of the data here in this file. So this has worked fine. So please make sure to download those reports within those 30 days, because afterwards they will be removed from the list. And the best option is to leave your email address in there anyway and receive the report via email. but also from this email, you have to download it within 30 days. All right, that's it for reports. I closed the side panel, and we'll have a look at our last section that we haven't been speaking about. Widgets. Here in the widgets tile, you will have the option to put unique content on your website to improve the quality of your website. So you can add review data directly to your website. Here in the meta review tile, you see your meta review, which is the review summary based on all reviews from the last 24 months. You have filtering options here. You have a summary sentence. You have some labels if they are good to know summary. And then further below, we also see the different categories that you've already seen in the sentiment tile here in the dashboard. This meta review is one of the widgets that you can add to your website via HTML codes. So for the meta review, you see it right here. You have option to adjust language width and height if you want to, and then you can just copy the embed code to clipboard and add it to the source code of your website. The trust score is based on the verified reviews of the last 2 years. If you use the trust score, you can also enable Google Rich Snippets if it's integrated without the iframe option, but with the embedded option. Just follow the steps that are outlined right here. You also see that you can see more additional information on Rich Snippets by just clicking Learn More right here. And we also have other HTML codes available, badges, which are different sections of the meta review that you can select or deselect here. And if you're working with our app, TrustYou Radar, you will also be able to create a social gallery where you highlight and star different entries on Facebook, Instagram, etc., and will then be able to have those posts available on your website in the social gallery widget. So last but not least, let's move on to the settings of your account. You also have different options there. You'll find the email alert option. You will be notified automatically via email whenever a new review comes in for your hotel. You can enable or disable this here. You also have the option to select different sections of reviews that you want to be alerted for. You can also set up Twitter alerts if you want to. Here you also find response templates. Those are the templates that show up when you click on Respond with Template for any given review. Those templates allow you to save time whilst responding because you can use certain sentences over again without sending the same response all the time, obviously. There are standard templates that we already suggested here. We can always create a new template, select whether this should be showing up for positive, neutral, or negative reviews, and then select which language this showed up for, and obviously you also name the template. For example, noise construction work can be a template that you can use for any review where this comes up, so you can save time whilst responding and focus on your main tasks. What you also have up here is the password that you can change. You can change the interface language. TrustYou is available in 13 languages that you can choose up here. Also, you can adjust the score scaling if you don't want to work with a scale up to 100. You can work with a scale up to 10 or up to 5. This just changes the measurement, doesn't change the content of all the data that you see anywhere in the tables and tiles here in the overview. Last but not least, in your account, you also have direct links up here. You can click on the help section, help manual for a direct link here. You can have a direct link to our customer service. They can send an email, or you can also send a direct email to service@trustyou.com. You can register for an online training like this, It should be a live training then. And you can always start a feature tour that will give you a short outline of what your account is about. Just a very short version of this webinar. If you click on your name, you will also have additional options. You can move to the settings directly, you can sign out, and you can manage the users in your group. So that's it for the live demo. Let's move back to our presentation. Let's look at a few more numbers and stats. So there was a Cornell research study last year that found that sophisticated text analytics can give hotel managers specific information about how to improve their guest experience. And that information is not available from rating content alone, meaning that you need this sentiment analysis to know exactly what's going on in the hotel. Scores just won't do. Petit Palace is a hotel chain in Spain, and they say they use TrustYou to gain more valuable insights. So the decision-making model is based on an integrated and reliable source of data, just like TrustYou. For Aska Hotels, a Turkish hotel chain, they've seen an improvement of 9% in their overall score, comparing 2013 to 2015, since they've used TrustYou. They've also seen a 90% improvement in response rate since it's been monitored via TrustYou. And they've also seen, for example, a 12% improvement in the semantic categories service and food. I also want to mention additional resources that you have in our help center that you've seen linked directly from your account. We have additional videos that you can look at, a best practice guide, a manual, a glossary, also FAQs. Directly from our website, you can also download best practices, case studies like Petit Palace and Aska, as we've seen it here, white papers, also blog articles, and the direct option to register for live trainings. And then there's also the client success team, obviously, the direct link from your account, but also via email at service@trustyu.com. We are always open for your questions, feedback, and we always offer support whenever needed. We are there for you. Thank you very much for listening to our analytics webinar. Whenever there's a question, please guide it to service@trustyu.com. Thank you very much for listening.